We're going to take the North and never give it back.
So that's a good pick. You get the corner. I got to go bold, right? I got to go bold for this.
Yeah, she's got some nice.
Welcome back to the Unbearable Sports Podcast. I'm your host, Brad. Make sure to like and subscribe if you're out there on YouTube, and also rate the show 5 stars everywhere that you get your podcast. Today, we are rounding out the mock draft madness that we've been taking place in. So we are going to be breaking down another group of mock drafts and then finally crowning the top of the mock drafts that we have created. So stay tuned. This is going to be great. And like I said yesterday, some of these mock drafts that we're going to be going through today are a little different. Definitely a little bit different because we've been trying to use just different players every single time. So we're not recycling the same people so that you kind of know who's out there. And I'll tell you, mock draft 2, I'm definitely teasing this. Mock draft 2 has someone that I have not seen many people actually put out there to the Bears. So I'm excited to break that down and get y'all's opinion on it. So as we've been doing for the past couple times, we've also been going through just some overall news before we break into actually what is going on and the actual mock drafts. So let's get this show on the road, and let's start out with some news where Devin Duvernay, the new Chicago Bear, has been added at the wide receiver position. So now when we look at the wide receiver position, Devin Duvernay, more so that backup, maybe for Olamide Zaccheaus, and can play a little bit on the outside receiver. But this is someone who is going to be 28 this year, so relatively young. But I like this. This is just gives you another person who is a playmaker. There is a clear type that Ben Johnson wants, and he just keeps validating. He wants the speedsters. He wants those people that can make big plays like Olamide Zaccheaus, like Devin Duvernay. Now, Duvernay has kind of taken a step back when it comes to his wide receiver roles. Like I think we all kind of remember year 3 in Baltimore. He was actually pretty darn good. But right now he's a 2-time Pro Bowler with punt returning. So look for him to just kind of give you a good return specialist and also just some good depth as a 4th, 5th receiver. As a 5th receiver, not bad. So that's why I still feel like the Bears should draft. And now, when you look at the team, you kind of have 5 good receivers that you feel comfortable about with DJ Moore, Rome Odunze, Zaccheaus, Duvernay, and Tyler Scott. Tyler Scott being the biggest question mark out there for sure. But still, you feel pretty good about this core going into the draft. Don't expect them to sign any more unless someone else is out there. Also, Taco Man, what is good? Bear down to you as well. So, next, Rondale Moore. Rondale Moore ends up agreeing to go to the Vikings. So here's another wide receiver that we brought in that goes over to one of our rivals in being the Minnesota Vikings. So it's unfortunate, but hey, what are you going to do? At least we got another person that we could bring in at the wide receiver position. Another thing too that I just want to call out is that the Bears started their top 30 visits. And with this, they brought in Josh Connerly, the offensive tackle out of Oregon, someone that we have mocked to the Chicago Bears in the 2nd round. So, like we said before, the rumors, the talk is that the Bears are fine with Braxton Jones as the starting left tackle. So a lot of people are saying that, don't really expect them to draft one in the 1st round. But like what we've been going through with some of these exercises is in the 2nd round with like a Josh Connerly Jr., that's not that bad if he drops to you because he's got good pass blocking upside and has some pretty good features, even if he's just a swing tackle. If he's a high-end swing tackle that you can get cheap, or at least just kind of acts as a stopgap if you want to move on from Braxton Jones, I don't mind that. So, hey, first top 30 visit, really, that's kind of been confirmed for the Chicago Bears. I know they've had some other small visits, but it's nice seeing the term top 30 start popping out there a little bit more. And let's see what's out there. Broski saying, I know you like some Josh Connerly. I do like him. I think that he's solid, and especially for a 2nd round pick. I think that needs to be said. And also J2K, what is good, my friend? So let's get in to the first mock draft. I think Here, let me get the first mock draft all primed and ready to go. So we have awesome show. Let me see. What do you think of this pick? So if you haven't already, if you're listening or watching to the other shows, you can still watch mock draft 1, mock draft 2. I just would say when we go down with the champion, we're going to be talking about all the different mock drafts that we've done. Also, I just want to make this clear. All these mock drafts is a lot of predictions. It's kind of, well, what if this scenario were to play out? What will we do? But also, too, I'm not recycling any other picks that I have. So if you're probably sitting there thinking, and if this is your first time listening to the show going, why didn't he draft this person? Well, it was probably because I drafted them already. The second round gets very, very difficult to pick some people because I'm like, maybe we don't need a corner in the second round. So let me get this all primed and ready for you all. So let's see. So in the first mock draft, those on YouTube have already seen who it's probably going to be. But with the first mock draft at pick number 10, this is a scenario where one of the top players with short arms drops to the Bears. And we're not talking about Will Campbell. We are talking about defensive tackle out of Michigan, Mason Graham. So this is something that started it was a rumor that's been kind of going around a little bit because when he measured in at the combine, people were saying this guy's a little short. This guy's small. He's got small arms. He's shorter than we expected. He's lighter than what we expected. And some people are getting a little bit scared off by that. Now, we are inside of draft time. And do I think that people should just ignore that and draft him high like the Jacksonville Jaguars at 5, which seems to be where a lot of people are having him go? I think that there's a lot of... The draft is crazy. The draft is absolutely crazy where some people can drop, some people just go higher than you expect. But that's some of the talk that is out there. For one, let's just talk a little bit about Mason Graham here, though. Michigan defensive tackle, 6'3", 320, junior. Now, he is the number 4 consensus player on the consensus big board. Since then, I think he's now like at 6 or 7. He's starting to slowly drop down, but he's projected in the top 5. If he drops down to the top 10, is this a scenario where you think that the Chicago Bears would instantly pick him up? Also, PFF grade the number 1 player at the defensive tackle spot. He took home the crown, 91.1 PFF grade, and has shades of Tommy Harris just because of a little shorter stature, smaller type of a build, but really a dominating 3 technique throughout his career in college. Now only 3.5 sacks last season, 20 hurries, 9 quarterback hits, but still dominant. 12% run win rate, just an absolute wrecks havoc in the run, and a 13.8% pass rush win rate. Pretty darn good at the D tackle position. 81.1 pass rush grade and a 92.6 run grade according to PFF. Now, when you just watch this tape, the thing that just jumps out to me is just the sheer motor that this guy has. Every single play, he's going at it, he's going hard, he's going crazy. That's what Mason Graham brings out there, and really just is the tone setter for the Michigan Wolverines defense, and has been the lifeblood out there and one of the best defensive tackles. Now, yet again, short arms. Now we have Will Campbell and we have Mason Graham. A lot of people want to see those longer arms because you can then engage, shed, attack with your different moves, and short arms do affect the D tackle position a lot. It is very, very advantageous to have these longer arms when you're fighting inside of that phone booth. So, Mason Graham, we see him with this stockier profile. Braden Fisk last year out of Florida State had a similar stocky profile as well. Turns out to be pretty darn good for the Los Angeles Rams, but would I take him in the top 10? Probably not. So let me know what y'all have to say out there, and I'm actually surprised to see 75% with the C. So yeah, let me know what y'all think about this, because to me, Mason Graham being this top performer, right? This top performer to bring in, I love the idea. And I love the idea of bringing in a D tackle. Do I think he's going to be there at the 10th spot? Probably not. I don't really think so. But to me, it would be very, very hard to pass up on a talent like a Mason Graham. But let me see what y'all are saying out there. Taka Man saying, Genty is coming to Chicago. Bears Bones is saying grab Mason. Yeah, so I'm actually surprised at what y'all are thinking. Yeah, Broski's saying he voted C for it. Yeah, I'm surprised that y'all are a little bit down on this. So this is the first draft pick that we have out there in this entire draft. So right now I'm seeing it change a little bit more. I know that we're getting more and more people inside the chat, so make sure to vote. So with this, add some depth to defensive tackle. And like we said too, you can then kind of start kicking pickings out is whenever we draft a defensive tackle. But let's see what else is out there. So let's flip over to the next player. So I'll just end this poll. And then let's flip over to the second pick. And let me just paste in the question. Do you think of this pick? Question mark. And uncapitalize that. A, B, C, and D. So next pick, we get this defensive tackle. And now we're going to be going back to the second round. And this is another one. We have not drafted a center yet. So I really want to know what people's thoughts are on this. This is another person that had a lot of hype and is starting to drop a little bit more. That's why I want to know y'all's opinion. Guard/center. That's Gray Zabel out of North Dakota State. Senior, 6'6", 305. This is a mauler in the run position. The consensus 38th best player in the NFL draft. I think it's actually all the way up to 32. I didn't update that. But if you look at him as a center, he is the number one center coming out. And from a guard perspective, I think now he's the number 2 guard. So number 1, number 2 interior player. I know I just want to kind of see what y'all thoughts are on an interior player. What do you think about them going after someone like a Gray Zabel? I saw like Tyler Booker or Jackson from Ohio State. There's other guards, but I was like, I'm going to go with Zabel just because he can kind of play the different ones, just to kind of get the conversation going on what we think about centers and drafting someone in the second round. Because I still see people saying draft Booker in the first. So I was like, fine, we'll draft an interior person, see what y'all have to say on the offensive side. But here's a little bit that I'll tell you about him. 90.4, which is the 5th highest grade for interior offensive lineman for PFF. He is an absolute mauler. When you put on the tape, the thing that I love about him is, yes, he's only 305 pounds, so he's an athletic guy. But when he just latches onto you, he can take his guy from the left hash mark all the way to the right. This guy can just move people. He is just a mauler. He's a dog. Dominated during the Senior Bowl. Everybody seemingly loved him. Everyone's throwing out the Ali Marpet. Insert whatever D2 college player that just blew up the Senior Bowl. He seems to be that caliber of a player. And quite frankly, when I put on the tape, I love his speed. I love how he's just a mauler. I really, really, really loved his tape. Now, the negatives, he's a grabby guy. He has gotten a lot of penalties throughout his career. And also, too, something that I know as Bears fans, do not like about Braxton Jones. Gray Zabel can kind of give up a lot of ground in the passing game. So he'll stay in front of his guy. And I said this before, like when he did the one-on-one reps in the Senior Bowl practices, a lot of Bears fans were saying, these aren't wins, but a lot of other people are saying these are wins. Like a lot of the pros are saying these are great reps because he kind of gives up ground. He holds the ground and he stays in front of his person, or he gives up ground, but stays in front of the person. So that's something that I just noticed with his game. Gives up ground in the pass game, but moves people forward in the run game. So like I said, a little different. Also 1 sack last year, 4 hurries and 2 hits. Absolutely crazy. 93.1 pass blocking grade. Good player. Just a very, very good player. And also the thing that I like about him kind of replaces, the all-time great Ryan Bates at the interior of the line. So Gray Zabel would be the guard, the center. You'd feel pretty darn good about that. And throwing a second-round pick at someone that could potentially fill in a pinch might not be too terrible. But let's see what y'all have to say. We're seeing 71% saying B, 25% saying C. Broski saying he likes the pick. He'll be a stud guard in the NFL. He's never played center, so I don't understand how he's the center one. Yeah, so a little bit about Gray Zabel too. He actually has a slightly larger wingspan than Will Campbell. But also too, he played center in the Senior Bowl. But yeah, during the NCAA, did not play it. So yeah. But then, yeah, so with this is the second pick. And that is the other piece to it. And that Broski just mentioned, there's a lot of talent out there. So you're solidifying your backup spots. But the thing that I'll always say about this, especially with the interior of the offensive line, if they end up landing a 2-year extension with Joe Thuney, I kind of pull back a little bit on interior, especially because, hey, let's maybe draft one later on to try and get some young depth out there. Just because if you have these people out for 3 years, I'd hate to spend like a day 1, day 2 that you expect them to be starters that early. So that's one spot where I love the player, but for the Bears right now, I'm not necessarily in love with this. But I just wanted to get the conversation out there for us to just kind of see what y'all had to say about that. So let's go and open up the poll again because we have another pick. Now, as you can probably imagine, we have a defensive tackle. We then have an interior offensive lineman that can provide some good depth. So with the next pick, we desperately need help at the defensive end spot. So there's only 2 second-round grade defensive ends that are available. This is one of them, and that's Princely Umanmielen. That is from Mississippi, 6'4", 255, and edge 11, number 49 overall. Projected to go in the second round, like I mentioned, reminds me a little bit of Whitney Merciless. He has got a PFF grade of 91.1 last season, which was good for 7th. He had 10.5 sacks, 28 hurries, and 16 quarterback hits with a whopping 22.8 pass rush win rate. This guy he's a crazy fast, quick penetrator at the line of scrimmage, more of that pass rush specialist. An 8.6% run win rate, pretty darn good. 91.5 pass rush grade, and a 78.7 run grade. Now, couple things about Umanmielen's game. He is a fighter. He is just a scrappy, it seems like they said, hey, if you don't get to the quarterback, we're going to bench you. Because he just seems like as soon as he hits, he's throwing moves at people. He's trying to attack. And that's something that I think if you are a coach, you might say, maybe I can teach him how to use his hands better, right? He's like someone that's trying to play Madden that doesn't know how to actually attack. So they just start throwing every button, throwing every attack combo that they can out there, but not necessarily knowing what to do, right? They don't have an actual plan. And actually, maybe it's more of a Mortal Kombat type of a reference, right? You're just spamming buttons trying to attack. That's how Princely Umanmielen attacks the offensive lineman, where he just throws every single combo that he can. But yeah, the coaching, that's something that he definitely needs out there. High motor guy, good athlete. Now, one of the things, and the reason why I also wanted to bring him up, I kind of see him more as a 3-4 outside linebacker. He could probably add a little bit more weight and then could maybe be that defensive end. Just something to be looking at there. And then also too, something that is a little negative on his game as well that maybe a Dennis Allen doesn't necessarily love is he really struggles to just kind of hold the point of attack. Hold the point of attack, anchor down when it comes down to the run game, because his biggest strength, like I said, penetration. All he's trying to do is he's trying to penetrate the line, and that is kind of his goal. Every single time out there, he's like, I'm going to attack. I'm going to spam every button on the controller and try to just take you out. That's what he's going to try and do. He doesn't necessarily it doesn't feel like he knows what to do on the outside edge. So that is something where maybe a Dennis Allen doesn't necessarily love that. But who would love him is this guy right up here, and that's Ryan Poles. He's got the Ryan Poles badge because he was a Senior Bowl attendee and also an above 8.0 RAS score. So a good athlete. and also a Senior Bowl person that ended up playing. But let's see what y'all have to say about adding some depth at the defensive end spot. Now we have 38% A, 38% B, 12% saying C, and 12% saying D. So now we go into the third round pick that we have to round out this one draft. So let me ask y'all what you think about this pick. So it looks like let me do A, B, and then C and D. So I did tell y'all that there was going to be a safety. And this is where the safety comes into play because, like we've said, with the Bears safety position and quite frankly, the entire defensive back situation, you kind of go, well, is Tyreek Stevenson, are they comfortable with him being, the starter? Kyler Gordon's coming into a contract year, but that's the cornerback position. The safety position, you have Mr. Simone Biles. He's on a contract year. You have Kevin Byard. He's on a contract year. Jaquan Brisker's on a contract year and has a million, concussions out there. And they always say, try and draft a year ahead. And they definitely need some safeties. So that's where the Bears, in the third round, the last pick in mock draft number 1, Andrew Makuba out of Texas. So yes, as a Texas Longhorn fan, I like this guy. You already know. A 5'11", 186 pounds. So he's definitely on the lighter side. So that's why he kind of reminds me of Jason McCourty. The McCourty brothers came in actually at I think Jason was exactly 5'11", 195, so a little bit bigger. But he's the consensus number 90th player in the coming out into the NFL and safety number 4. That just kind of shows you the depth at safety. There's not a lot. There's not a lot of round 1 and 2 and 3 safeties out there. So he's projected to go in the 3rd, projected in the 4th. And he was PFF's 4th highest graded safety out there with a 90 grade overall. Now, what can I tell you about him too? 69 tackles, 5 interceptions, and 89.7 coverage grade. This guy in coverage was crazy with a 26.1 forced incompletion rate, which is actually nuts. So when the ball's in the air, he's breaking it up a 4th of the time. Most people, it might be a 10th of the time. This guy is doubling, nearly tripling the average that's out there, playing primarily deep. Now, in the Dennis Allen system, they do like to kind of run more of a cover 3 system, so he could play that deep ball guy. Now, the thing that I love about him is this guy is a ball magnet. Wherever the ball is, he's flying in there. He's flying in there full speed. He's flying in there. Like when the ball's in the air, he's made some absolutely crazy plays. That is something that I really like. And he can just kind of flip the hips right out of his stance, get right to the ball, and he just goes. He's got some very, very good speed to him. He can high point the ball. He is a playmaker. 5 interceptions shows that. Now, he had 1 year at Texas because he transferred over from Clemson. And before that, wasn't necessarily the player that you see now at Texas, but man, he found a home at Texas and just was a really good player for the Longhorns. The big negatives though, as you probably could tell by just stating who he was, 186 pounds is very light, very, very light frame. So even though he's got a hard nose, like he's going to just absolutely dive after the ball, go crazy for it, Makuba is someone that needs to add on some weight. The play strength. It's not that he doesn't fly to the ball and smack you. It's that, it's just physics. He needs to gain some weight. He needs to be bigger if he wants to really kind of hang in the NFL. And also a 14.4 missed tackle rate. Not great. So when you come down into the box, try to make tackles, that is something that I don't necessarily love. Needs to just pack on the weight, more of a deeper type of a safety out there. But let's see what y'all have to say. And then Bears Bones saying we need someone like this. Yeah, agreed. And then Broski saying at Penn State, Kevin Winston. I was either debating Kevin Winston or Makuba here for it. So, and then J2K saying, I heard we met with Sebastian Castro of Iowa. Yeah, that I actually didn't know that we met with him, but yeah, someone that is more later on down the draft that you could potentially get. But yeah, 186 pounds. That is very, very light. He needs to get a little bit heavier. But overall, y'all giving this 50% a B, 33% a C, and 17% a D. The instincts are there. Yep, the boy just needs to eat some steaks. A couple, just a couple pounds. So that's the big thing. Also, Shy Drax, what's good, my friend? Hope you have been well. Haven't seen you in a while. Nice to see you back out here. Hope you've been good, my friend. But yeah, Broski saying Makuba's smaller than the punter. He is technically. That is correct. So now we get to the final mock draft before we go into crowning the top mock draft that we went through all these exercises and going through a total of 32 different players throughout all this, which is absolutely crazy. My math might not be mathing, but fact check me on that. So yeah, 32 total players. So with this one, I had to go big, right? I had to go big because for this player, for the first pick, I was like, well, do I go with another? Because I didn't want it to be a reach. So I didn't go with any defensive ends because, with like James Pierce Jr., I love James Pierce Jr., but there's a lot of talk that, hey, Tennessee didn't even allow him to speak to the media. Mike Green also has had sexual allegations or sexual assault allegations in high school and in Virginia. So there's that maybe he's not going to be a top 10 pick. And so with James Pierce Jr. and Mike Green, two guys that I like as players, not that I'm like, hey, probably shouldn't go after that. Then I was like, Ted McMillan, the wide receiver. I'm like, no, they wouldn't go with someone that big. They might not go with Membu. Like I said, they wouldn't go with an offensive lineman. So what should I do? So what I decided to go with is someone who's the number 9 player overall on Mel Kiper Jr.'s big board, the number 7 overall player on PFF and Trevor Sikkema's big board, the top 10 player for the 33rd team's consensus big board, number 8, top 10 player for Daniel Jeremiah, someone that he absolutely loves as well. Bucky Brooks is number 1 player at that given position. And also, the Next Gen Stats says that there's 5 blue chip players using their formula, which is Ashton Genty, Tyler Warren, Travis Hunter, Abdul Carter, and this gentleman right here, Jahdae Barron. Gotta love his last name, gotta say. So with the 10th pick, I wanted to throw this out there because I have not seen a mock draft with this. Jahdae Barron, who is a corner, a slot, a safety, a free safety, a strong safety, you name it. So I wanted to throw this out there as what would we think about this pick? Like I said, he is now a top 10 player on most people's big board right now. This is a corner, this is a safety, this is a slot defender. And the reason why I chose him, because I see more and more people talking about Will Johnson, and I like Will Johnson out of Michigan. But the reason why I wanted to choose this as my final mock draft, because first off, I've already selected 7 people anyway, so my picks were very, very small of who I could actually choose to keep it different every single time. But like we said, you draft 1 year ahead, and this is someone who could take the job from Tyreek Stevenson this year. Then could take the job of a Kevin Byard the following. Also, you could even take Kevin Byard's job right now as the free safety, and then you save an extra $7 million by letting him walk. Jahdae Barron, 5'11", 200 pounds. My comp for him is Brian Branch. He's currently actually the number 16 consensus player, but like I illustrated right beforehand as I led up this giant runway, because I know some people might not like this pick, I threw that out there because he is someone that can do it all. Just like how Brian Branch was for the Lions defense. Just like how a one Honey Badger, Tyrann Mathieu, was for Dennis Allen's defense. Someone that could just run around and make plays for you. He is PFF's 3rd highest graded corner last season at 90.7. This is someone who allowed a 34.2 passer rating in coverage, a 91.5 zone coverage grade. Absolutely insane. 69.1 man coverage grade, which we'll talk about a little bit later, but 5 interceptions, 11 passes defended, 67 tackles. And I think I might have told y'all a little bit about this. Sometimes my wife helps out and she'll put together these graphics and like throw the stats out there. And she goes, is 11 passes defense really good? And I'm like, yeah. She's like, it's higher than a lot of other people. And it's just how Jahdae Barron, he makes plays. And like I said, like I previously was stating, this person is a playmaker. There's a reason why he's one of 5 considered blue chip players according to Next Gen Stats. I'm not saying that he is an actual blue chip player, but according to their formula, they believe he is. And he's been going later in some mock drafts, but now as people are watching him, he's going back up. Also, Coach Sarkisian loves and praises his IQ because that is one of the biggest things. Like I said, could play absolutely everywhere and also would excel in a cover 3 system, an 83.3 run defense grade as well. Just a good player. So absolutely everywhere, can play everywhere. Now, with the number 10 pick, right? This is someone with crazy good instincts, zone specialist, high IQ, 4.39 40 time. The thing that is negative, right? His man coverage skills. That is something that I'm a little bit down on. It just really like the switching of the hips, little bit slow. That's where from the man coverage perspective, not necessarily the greatest. Now at the 10 spot, it would be bold. It would be very, very bold. And that's where, is there other needs? Yes, there's definitely other needs. Is this a very good player that I think both coaches would absolutely love? Yes. Would I see them making this pick? Absolutely not. I don't think so, but I wanted to talk about this and just kind of think about this. And so, yeah, I see 30% D, 20% C, 50% B. Yeah, no worries. I wanted to talk about this. So let's see. J2K saying cornerback. Shytack saying Brad's cousin. Yeah, maybe. And then Broski saying, I'd rather shoot myself. Are you kidding me with this pick? Here's the thing. Yeah, Texas Slap Happy. Like I said, he's good. He's good. He's a good player. And like I said, too, I ran out of picks. I definitely ran out of picks here. But I wanted to just throw that out there, see what y'all had to say. And yeah, 50% B. But let's keep on moving on because I did want to at least talk about him. Do I think that they're actually going to go top 10 with the corner? No, I don't think so. But he's the only person that I could see them potentially doing. I see Will Johnson a lot, but Will Johnson is purely just a corner. Do I think that they would spend that early and just give up on Tyreek Stevenson? No. So if they want to go with someone like that, I'd rather them go with a Barron because he's at least a safety. He's at least someone that can play all over the place. So yeah. Joe's saying this is the result of draft fatigue. Yeah. This segment can only last 4 segments long is what I think we're getting at. Drax is saying gross. Let's move on to the next pick then, shall we? So let's go over to the first second round pick where we have the Chicago Bears drafting Jack Sawyer, the last defensive end that is a second round grade caliber type of a player. Let me throw this out here. So A, B, C, and D. So like I said, this is the last defensive end we can actually draft inside of the second round. So what does that mean? It means we can go 8 full mock drafts with drafting a defensive end in the second. Like I said, defensive end is deep in this class, and you can get some pretty darn good defensive ends. With this, the last one, Jack Sawyer, Ohio State, 6'5", 265 senior. Anybody that watched the college football playoffs saw Jack Sawyer go absolutely crazy. He is projected to go, he was late first. Now I'd say he's projected to go more inside of the second. He's starting to slowly drop down. Reminds me a little bit of Sam Hubbard, who just recently retired. Edge number 8, number 36 player overall. Actually, I think now he's all the way down to 48. I needed to update that. PFF's grade 90.5, which is good for 12th. 59 tackles, 9 sacks, 38 hurries, 16 quarterback hits. Absolutely got to the quarterback. 17.7 pass rush win rate in the Big Ten. Also 89.4 pass rush grade, 82.5 run grade, which is very, very good. And this is someone who's a leader. This is someone who can play. He would be mainly like a backup for a Montez Sweat, but someone that can give you good run defense and also good pass rush. Now, high motor, strong run defender. You feel like some of that stuff is going to transfer over. He can hold the edge well. He's a strong defensive end. But here's the piece: is I still think that there's questions about his overall NFL traits. Shorter arms, doesn't necessarily bend the edge. Bend is something that is very, very important. And also, too, the get off. You don't necessarily see that all that much. So that's why I think that when he goes to the NFL, I think he's going to kind of have that drop a little bit that we did see with Sam Hubbard, someone who was a very good defensive end in college and then just kind of took a little bit of a step back. I think he's going to be a good foundational, just a good sound NFL player at the next level, and has some room to grow with those pass rush traits, but he is a good high football IQ type of a guy. But let's see what we're thinking out there. A is 43%, B is 29%, and C is 29%. Bears Bones likes his motor. And yeah, we got Broski saying J2 Tuimoloau is better. Yeah, I know that you love some JT out there. J2K says, I like Jack Sawyer, even though he doesn't have the traits I think Poles is looking for. He does a great job getting into the quarterback. That is right. Now, that's the thing is, yeah, you feel like that the Bears are going to go after more of those traitsy guys for sure. That's where even like a Jack Sawyer and the other guy, Jack Sawyer, Princely Umanmielen, that's actually also why they're kind of the two last defensive ends that I'm going through. Because do I think that they're perfect for the Bears or someone that they might be looking at? Maybe not as much as some of the others. Maybe Jack Sawyer's, just because of him being a little bit larger, is something that they might like. So let's go into the next player, which some of you might have seen, and some of y'all might just joke because, yeah, maybe I'm going a little Texas slap happy over here too, right? The segment can only last four segments long. So the next one that we're going to go for is Alfred Collins, defensive tackle out of Texas, 6'6", 332 senior. Now this is a player, consensus 63rd defensive tackle, number 7 defensive tackle overall, and second to third round range. He kind of reminds me of the Ashawn Robinson coming out of Alabama, where this dude is just a man. Do yourself a favor after this episode, go and watch Alfred Collins tape. He kind of reminds me of Akeem Hicks a little bit as well, where he's just this huge dude, and he's not like some large human beings will purely just like run into you, and that's kind of all they're doing. Alfred Collins uses his gigantic arms and just grabs hold and just tosses them, just throws the guys out of the club. That's exactly how he kind of attacks. Super fun tape to watch and just very, very strong. To me, I think that he can play a little 3-tech. He can kind of play all over the defensive line. But to me, I think his home is going to be that one technique defensive tackle and kind of take on two different guys, just because 332. This guy is big. This guy is strong. He can take on a lot of different guys. Also, 85 run grade overall and 7.4 run win rate. Good, solid defensive tackle that can give you good production at the from the run side. Also, a 1-year starter. And if you're curious why, Tavondre Sweat, and also Byron just came out as well, Byron Murphy. So that's the reason why he wasn't a starter, but as a backup, very, very good. A little bit of a slow mover, but still he's just going to be a good person in the NFL. And Michael's saying too many Texas players. Yeah, but at the same time, so this is where I'll say this. I was thinking about two different defensive tackles. I'm actually a little bit higher on TJ Sanders out of South Carolina. That was going to be the other person that I throw in at this spot. And I'm like, I'm going to go with a big boy. And also, too, I had a lot of LSU last time. And I'm like, I'll go Texas. I'll go Texas this time around. LSU was the theme last time. Texas is the theme this time around. So Alfred Collins, we have 57% saying B, 43% saying C. So now let's get into the last player, and then we can start voting. And the last one is we have the Bears going wide receiver in the 3rd round. And I'll tell you, I switched this pick up a couple times, and this isn't a giant speedster, but this is someone that is good in the slot. And that's Xavier Restrepo, wide receiver out of Miami. 5'10", 198, senior out of Miami. And this guy is a short route running specialist. That's one of the things that I'm a little bit nervous about how the Bears would see him, because like we were talking about with Jalen Knoll out of Iowa State, Jalen Knoll is a slot weapon, but he hits the deep ball. He's more of a deep threat, while Xavier Restrepo, a master when it comes down to the short yardage route running. So that is something that he's incredible at. He's the consensus 87th best player on the consensus big board, wide receiver 12, round 3 he's projected to go. And my comp is Ricky Pearsall. Just how Ricky Pearsall last season was someone, not necessarily exactly how he plays, but he just reminds me of how when Ricky Pearsall was coming out, it's like, this is just someone you draft, he's going to be good. He's just going to he's going to be good in the slot. He has a 61.5 contested catch rate. So even though he's 5'10", the guy can get up and get the ball. 87.6 grade against man-to-man. He's going to beat you. Like I said, short yard master, is able to get those. 1,127 yards last season, 11 touchdowns, great quickness, can win at the catch point, and something. If you don't block, you don't get the rock. This guy loves to block. This guy is someone that's going to get his helmet in and he's going to pop someone. So if you want someone that can block someone, this is the guy. I've also seen other comps out there of Xavier Restrepo to Amon-Ra St. Brown. That's a little rich, but love to see it, because Amon-Ra St. Brown could get up, get the ball, and also Restrepo can break tackles. He is dangerous out in the open field. Now, some of the downsides, like I said, not necessarily a downfield threat. I think that's going to be something that might turn the Bears off if they feel like, hey, we do want a slot that can kind of stretch the field, play a little bit farther downfield. That could be one of the negatives that they see. And also, too, when he was going against elite cornerbacks, they kind of were able to jam him at the line a little bit. Maybe with some proper coaching, he can kind of get around that. But yet again, in the slot, you can kind of protect him a little bit more out there. But good slot defender. Also, I see Bears Junkie out there. Perfect. Hey, no worries. We're going to be grading the draft soon, so no worries there. But let's see what y'all have to say. We have 38% saying A. We have 25% saying B and 38% saying C. So let's see. We have Muck Muck. He says he'd prefer Kyle Williams over Restrepo if he's there. Yeah, Kyle Williams is, dude, some people still have him in the 7th round. And I'm like, dude, Kyle Williams is good. I watched his tape. And yeah, that's someone that I think the Bears will really like. J2K likes Restrepo. And then Michael saying, yeah, at least I didn't go Texas this time around. Yeah, I could have gone Isaiah Bond. I could have gone Isaiah Bond just to complete it. And then also Pearsall. Yeah. See, that's the thing. I put him as a comp, and I'm probably going to change it. I put Pearsall out there more from like the draft conversation, but yeah, I probably will have to change that. And then Broski's saying had to go with another shade of orange. Yeah. Subconsciously, I was like, you know what? I gotta. So yeah, so overall, looks like y'all decently like that one. So I'll end this poll. And now we can put a cherry on top of this. Let's talk about the favorite mock draft of this one. And then after that, we will crown the champion. So let's get in to these two mock drafts and let's figure out which mock draft is your favorite. And we'll do 1 or 2. So just send this out. And for the people that are listening at home, just as a recap, yet again, we've gone through so many different players. So we've gone through 32 different players out here. So definitely crazy list that we've been happening with. Mason Graham, number 10 overall, followed by Gray Zabel, the interior center guard from North Dakota State. Princely Umanmielen, the edge out of Mississippi. And then Andrew Makuba, out of the safety out of Texas. And then we flipped over to the last mock draft, which was Jahdae Barron, the cornerback out of Texas at the number 10 spot. Jack Sawyer, the edge out of Ohio State at the 39th pick. Alfred Collins, pick 41, defensive lineman out of Texas. And then Xavier Restrepo, the wide receiver out of Miami at pick number 72. So let's see what y'all are saying. Right now, one is currently the favorite. And then after this, we'll put whatever the winner is against the rest of the mock drafts. And then we'll vote for the final and the best mock draft that's out there. So if I'm looking at this, I don't know. When I'm looking at this overall, I kind of lean number 2. And that's because, as you probably imagine, I like Jahdae Barron. I think that he is a good player. Now, the thing I think that holds the first one is Mason Graham. I love Mason Graham. I think that that's the crown jewel of this, is that you're getting a defensive tackle, you're getting a top end player right there. But I like just the flow, the solidness of number 2. So I'm going number 2, and y'all are loving number 1. Y'all are loving the Mason Graham trade. So I'll close this off. The fans have spoken. The Mason Graham, Gray Zabel, Princely Umanmielen, and Andrew Makuba draft is the winner of this round. So now, shall we pick a champion? And we'll kind of remember all these different ones. And in case if you're wondering, did I purposely not make one perfect mock draft? Yeah, I did. I did not make one perfect mock draft just because it would kind of throw things off a little bit. So now let's look at all the different mock drafts. So what is your favorite mock draft? And I'm going to do this so the first one was Kelvin Banks. And also, if you're watching or listening and you want to listen to the other ones, now's the time to switch off. I will not blame you for this at all. So that we can then see, so that you don't get this spoiled. So then we have Ashton Genty as the second one. Then we have Will Campbell. And then we have Mason Graham. And now this isn't saying who would you draft. So I'm just going to put draft at the end so there's no confusion. And then I shall send this out. So for those that are listening at home, I'll run through these as the votes are coming on in. So make sure to vote if you're out there on YouTube, because we need the voice of the people for the favorite mock draft out there. So the first one that we went through was kind of what we were dubbing the safe pick. Well, when we said, hey, if the Bears want depth at the offensive tackle spot, why not go after someone? We're going to go with Texas. I mean, Texas has a lot of players out there, like a Kelvin Banks, just because someone that is a left tackle, and also the chances of someone like Armand Mambu being there, very, very low. Also Simmons, I've heard some people very, very scared about that knee, the ruptured quad. A lot of people are scared that, hey, you do not come back from an injury like that. And then also, so what we had, Kelvin Banks, tackle out of Texas, followed up by Landon Jackson, Quinshon Judkins, the running back out of Ohio State, and Terrence Ferguson, the tight end out of Oregon. Then, Landon Jackson was the edge out of Arkansas. So then, our second winner was Ashton Genty, number 10, running back out of Boise State, followed by Nick Scorton, the edge out of Texas A&M, the tackle, Ariante Ursery out of Minnesota, followed by Harold Fannin Jr., the tight end out of Bowling Green. And then we had Will Campbell. Yesterday, we had the Will Campbell draft. Will Campbell, tackle guard out of LSU. Tyleik Williams, the defensive tackle out of Ohio State. Then Mason Taylor, the tight end out of LSU. Braden Swinson, the edge out of LSU, to kind of round things off. And then the one that we just went through, Mason Graham, Gray Zabel, Princely Umanmielen, and Andrew Makuba. So let's see what y'all are saying about this. And let's see. Yeah, I'm feeling it. So if I looked at what y'all are saying, but if I had to pick myself, I think when I look at this, I look at the Ashton Genty draft, and I really like that. And I really like the Ashton Genty draft. And I will say too, as I was putting together these mock drafts, I remember putting together the Ashton Genty draft and going, this might be too good. I'm like, this might be the best. Because as I was putting this together, I'm like, Nick Scorton is a really good defensive end to pair up, and Harold Fannon's a good tight end. I was like, that might be the winner. And right now, it's looking like it might be. So if I had to pick, I would actually pick the Ashton Jeanty draft, because you're getting Ashton Jeanty, who, here's the thing. To me, my personal take, Brad's personal take, is I would rather take Ashton Jeanty at 10 than draft a running back in the second round, which might sound bold, but yet again, I go back to, why is running back being talked about as something? It's, you have to have a difference maker, not just a really good back, someone that has the chance to be a difference maker. I think Ashton Jeanty has a chance to be a difference maker. Do I think Quinshon Judkins? No, not really. I just don't really see it. Like, I don't see the super high end. Could he? Maybe. So that's why, to me, if Ashton Jeanty's not there, I would just day 3. I love the day 3. We haven't even touched the day 3 running backs. I love the day 3 market out there. And I think that's why I actually wouldn't go second round with a running back. That is my personal take. Not necessarily predictive for the Bears, because I love the day 3 running backs. I think that there's so many good ones out there that the Bears could take. So if they are going to take one, I would take Ashton Jeanty, because you have the potential for that. But everyone else, I'm like, no, I'll wait. I'll wait till day 3. I'll wait till I'll wait for Martinez out of Miami or someone like that. I'll wait for Jaden Blue out of Texas. I had to throw that in there. But actually, I do like Jaden Blue. I know a lot of people like Jaden Blue, actually. But let's see. Yeah, and Broski's saying, yeah, there are a ton of day 3 running backs. Exactly. And then also, too, J2K saying, just an FYI, Simmons injured his patellar tendon, not ACL. It's a far less injury. Same recovery time as ACL, because they use a piece of PT to replace the ACL. No need with Simmons. Who is it? It's someone out there. I forgot his name. He was like a former physical therapist, was on like the Chicago Audible. He posted something and I saw it, and I saw him kind of say some stuff on it. And so let's see. And also Broski's saying, yeah, let's see. So the winner, I'll wrap this up. The winner of it, the Ashton Jeanty draft, takes home the gold. That is ultimately the top mock draft that we had in this entire exercise. So guys, ladies, gentlemen, thank you all so much for coming out for 4 different days of 8 different mock drafts, 32 different players. And yes, J2K, Mason West, that's his name. I think his name actually is Bears Bones or something. Like, I think his show was. But yeah, he tweeted some stuff out. So if anyone's out there, actually check it out, because he has some stuff out on the Simmons injury where he's a little bit more concerned. And so when someone who's medical is like, yeah, I'm kind of concerned, I'm like, maybe I'll listen to you, type of thing. But yeah, ladies, gentlemen, thank you all so much for coming out and just kind of breaking down all these different mock drafts. We'll get back to all the different, we'll go back to all the different stuff that you are know this show for. Like I said, I'm exhausted from doing all these mock drafts. I know y'all are exhausted too. And yeah, so we'll be going through big boards. Like I said, there's a lot of day 3 running backs that I want us to go through and talk about, because yeah, we broke down basically every running back that can go in rounds 1 and 2. So there's a lot more that are projected to go later that we'll be breaking down for you. And also we'll have standard little mock drafts that will actually be more of what I would do, rather than just picking and choosing some of those out there. So if you haven't already, drop a like, subscribe. Thank you all so much for coming out here and just having a blast the past 3 consecutive days. Have an awesome March Madness. And with that, Unbearable Sports Podcast, we are out.
Yeah, she's got some nice long hair, and you know that she